What's up everybody, my name is Danon and welcome to Ahnestly. Today we're checking out two chairs from the company called Mavix. Now Mavix is trying to create gaming chairs that offer you better support than the typical gaming chairs. And before you guys go off in the comments, I'm aware that the Mavix chair and the X chair are very similar. And I'm aware that this happens quite a bit because it seems like the Chinese manufacturers create a chair frame and then a lot of brands rebrand it. Now I don't know who did it first. I don't know who's the authentic version. All I have is the Mavix chair here, so I can't answer the questions about which one's better or which one should I get. I don't know. The design is very similar. All I can do is review these two. So the one I have here on my left is the M7, and the one that I'm sitting on here is the highest end M9. The M7 is the mid tier, the M9 is the high end tier, and there's a lower end tier called the M5, but the M5 I think is gonna have similarities to the M9 in terms of at least the material because it's using a PU leather versus this very, very soft, supple leather here on the M9. Now, if you guys want to pick up any of these chairs, you guys can use my code Ahnestly and you can get $55.55 off. That sounds like a really odd number, but it's because Mavix plays these numbers games where the M5 is valued at $555.55, the M7 at $777.77, and M9, if you haven't guessed, $999.99. Hence why if you use my code, you get $55.55 off. Before I jump into these chairs, Mavix sent me one other thing, and it's this. This is the Mavix footrest. And I can say that of all the things that Mavix sent me, this is the thing I'm gonna tell you with 100% certainty that you should pick up if you're looking for a footrest and you don't wanna break the bank. This is valued at $44.44, so my code unfortunately will not work on this, but I can tell you guys that this footrest has changed my life. Mavix didn't pay me, they didn't do anything like that. I'm gonna give my real honest opinion here. You're gonna see in a minute. But this is seriously it's a game changer. So I typically use this. This is my footrest that I used before the Mavix footrest came into my life. This is like a cheap $25 one I bought off of Amazon. It's like a hard foam. I'm not gonna hit it too hard because it's quite dusty. And I picked this up for a few reasons. One is because I'm short. I'm 5'6", and when I test some of these chairs, it's just too high up. And for reference, the Mavix chairs were designed for the big boys out there, for you tall folks out there, and I'll get to that in a minute. But even then, even on the shorter chairs, sometimes I like to lift them a little bit higher so that my arms are at the right height for my keyboard. And because of that, I like to have a little bit of wiggle room to be able to elevate my feet a little bit. The other reason why I have it is because I'm a shaker. My feet shake a lot when I'm sitting at my desk, or I shake my feet a lot at my desk. And I thought that this would be a better alternative to rest my feet on versus the legs, because if you do that too often, sometimes the paint can rub off, you can get these weird stains. And so that's why I opted to get a footrest. And this has just been okay, right? Until I started using this from Mavix. And the design is super simple. It's this metal frame with two triangles and some rubber feet here so it doesn't slide. And then it's just this plastic board that slots in right here. So it's nothing crazy. And then on top here is this textured material. And even though it's rough to the touch, your feet feel really good on it. I've done it with socks. Your socks don't pull or anything. It's really nice. And the biggest reason why I love it so much is because I can tuck it closer to me, bring it closer to me, and I can rock my feet back and forth. I've noticed that when I'm at my computer, I'm a little bit more awake. I'm a little bit more alert. In my editing sessions, that can get really, really boring and I can start falling asleep when I'm sitting there. This makes all the difference for me when I start rocking my feet. Now, it's not gonna be, I think, as amazing as an under desk cycle, but those can get really expensive. This is, seriously guys, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's helping circulate blood flow. I'm not sure. I just know that I just feel a lot more awake when I'm at my desk. So this is a game changer. I know that other brands make really expensive versions. My only criticism of this is I wish it would be height adjustable so I can fine tune it for the chairs I use. That would be great, but this is still excellent. And again, I think you guys should all pick this one up. Again, not overhyping this, it's really been amazing. I've had some friends come out and test some of my chairs and I was like, hey, try that. And they were like, oh, that's really nice. That fact that you can rock it, again, I think it just promotes blood flow or something. Yeah, it's great. All right, let's start with the M9. Actually, before we jump into that, a lot of you guys wrote in the comments hey, you didn't talk about the return policy, you didn't talk about the warranty. And those are things that you guys are absolutely right. And the point of this channel is not to just make money. Making money helps, obviously, to be able to fund these videos and be able to buy these chairs and things like that when I need to, because I just don't have enough subscribers for people to send me things all the time, which is all the reason why I'm so thankful to Mavix for sending these. But I want to be able to give you guys a real legitimate review, and that includes including things like what's the return policy, what's the warranty like. So at the end of this video, you're going to see I'm going to talk about that stuff. I'll leave the timestamps down below in an effort, again, my effort here to be as transparent, to be as honest as possible, to help you guys make an informed decision. All right, now looking at the M9. The M9 is a $1,000 chair. And like I said before, these chairs were designed for taller folks in mind. And I'm gonna say that tall guys, I know you guys are struggling to find a good chair for you guys, but the value prop on this chair, a $1,000 chair, is just, I don't think it's there, right? And I'll explain why as we go through it, but let me kind of talk about some of the highlights of the chair, and then and mixed along with like why I think like some questionable areas, and then we'll always, as always, we'll do a deep dive from the bottom up. Okay, so some of the highlights of this chair are going to be this material. The seat and back material is super supple. It's super soft. It's really, really nice. It feels super premium. Now, I don't know what material they use, and the site is not clear about what it is, at least in the brief reading that I did, right? It's not super clear. I don't know if this is genuine leather. I just know that it feels really nice, and it's very soft. The problem with it, though, is because it's so smooth, is that I find myself sleeping all the time in this chair. And the lumbar support on these chairs is actually pretty good, right? Like the more you sit back, the more aggressive it is. But that's the key downside as well, because it's so slippery that if you find yourself scooched all the way back, you find yourself as you're sitting, you just kind of slide forward subtly, right? It's not drastic unless you're really like just pushing down on your legs, but it's this subtle creeping forward to the point where you are a little bit lounging in your chair. And for me personally, after about an hour, my back started to hurt. My back started to ache. And I got tired of like reshuffling myself every 10 seconds. I just didn't like that. So the sitting experience for me personally, I didn't love. Now keep in mind, I'm not the target demographic. I'm 5'6". I feel like this was meant for taller folks. So I actually brought my friend Young from the Blind Guys. If you guys haven't subscribed to that channel, please do. We're gonna be doing a huge review on that channel of all my chairs, so look forward to that one. I brought him in because he's 6'1". He is the target, he's 6'1", 190 pounds. He's the target demographic, I think, for this chair. And when he sat in it, he was like, it's okay, right? He was like, when I sit in it, it's all right. As a matter of fact, him and I and my wife, who's lighter than me, we actually all prefer the M7 better, which I'll get to in a minute. But yeah, just in general, the padding, although it's comfortable, it doesn't contort to your bottom as much. It's very it's comfortable, but again, it doesn't feel like it's bending to you. It feels like you're sitting on like gel, right? It's like a rubber gel. Like I don't know how else to explain it. It doesn't feel as good for me personally as mesh. That's a personal preference, but the three of us all agreed to that. So yeah, there is that sliding on the material, even though it feels premium. And you can see that it's kind of contorting to me. Like you can see in the crotch area, there's still a bump here, but where my thighs go, there's an indentation. So it does, maybe over time it would feel better, but at least in the 2 or 3 weeks that I've been testing it, it's just been kind of like whatever, right? So that's that material. The reason why I say it's for tall people, and this is one of a cool feature that it has, is that the back is able to notch up, which is a feature that we haven't seen on any of my other chairs that I've reviewed so far. And the reason why that's important is because the taller you are, your back isn't, everybody's back isn't the same. The taller you are, the higher your arch on your back is gonna be, and you want this lumbar support to kind of fit in that arch of your back. So for someone like me, I might want it at the lowest point, but if you're taller, you might want it at the highest point. It can go 4 notches up, and you're able to do that. So that's a really cool feature. Now, we get to the part where I'm kind of like, the value prop is weird, right? Because this headrest is awful, right? It's a little bit, it has one redeeming point to it, but overall it's awful. And just to be fair to Mavix and all the other chairs, every chair that I've reviewed that has a headrest included, they've all been awful. The Noya chair was decent because you have to pay $100 for it, and the Atlas headrest for the Aeron series is absolutely amazing. All the ones that come with it though, all the ones that come with the chair, they're all pretty awful. Here's the main reason why, okay? So in the assembly video, it tells you like, oh, the way you adjust your headrest is you put your hand here and you just push it up like that. And then if you want it down, you push it down like that. But do you see how much force that takes? But not only that, who adjusts a headrest while you're not sitting in the chair? I don't know about you, but I don't. Because for me, this is like a trial and error thing. Like I have to actually be there to be able to adjust it. Look what happens when I sit in the chair and try to adjust it. Oh jeez, I feel I'm gonna lose a finger. Like it's really scary. And they say like, oh, it's that hard because that way it won't like click or move while you're sitting in it. And I get that, but you can't precisely control it because when you have to use that much muscle, you're either gonna get it all the way up or all the way down, or you're gonna lose a finger if you pinch something. And it can't slide horizontally, which means if you're sitting up straight, this is me sitting straight, right? So if I wanna use the headrest while I'm sitting up, I have to pull back a little bit, and it creates that triple chin effect for me, maybe a double chin for you guys. And it's not comfortable, like this hurts. Now, you might be thinking like, well, for the headrest, isn't it like a set and forget thing, right? You would just adjust it once and then you never have to adjust it again. That would be true if your chair couldn't do certain things, but the Mavix has features that are great, but you have to adjust the headrest constantly. So again, when I'm sitting up straight, I want the headrest down. Now again, keep in mind that I am too short for this chair, or at least I'm not, I think, within the target demographic for this chair. So right here, even when I'm sitting fully down, the headrest is a little bit high up, right? But notice when I lean the chair back a little, look where the headrest sits. Now it's on the back of my head, almost at the top of the back of my head. And you can imagine that if you're taller, you're gonna wanna adjust this thing down a little bit to fit into the curvature of your neck. And that's not gonna be easy to do. So this is what I mean by you're gonna have to constantly fiddle. Like if you go from sitting up to leaning back, you're gonna have to constantly adjust this, and it's just not easy to do. So the headrest isn't great. Oh, the one redeeming factor about it though, is that unlike a lot of these headrests that come with these chairs, I will say that the curvature on the Mavix is quite nice. The curvature of the headrest is nice. Some of these headrests have very, very unusual curves, where to the point where it's like poking you instead of being comforting, but the soft pad here on the headrest and the round curve actually does fit into the neck quite nicely. That is something that I've noticed on this chair compared to the other chairs. And keep in mind, I'm reviewing chairs like the Sitas T50 and the T80, and yeah, their headrests are even worse than this. So yeah, that's the headrest. Now, again, why is the value prop on this chair weird? The headrest is no good. The seating experience is kind of been whatever for me. And then the last one is because the construction on this chair doesn't feel premium. Again, this is a $1,000 chair. I was expecting really tight, really just put together pieces. I was expecting not all metal. I'm okay with plastic, but not this kind of mangy, wriggly, rattly plastic. So the key example of this is actually the arms. The way the arms install onto this chair is that this part here is a single piece. So when it comes, there's the base and there's just this metal arm that hangs out here. And then you gotta take the arm and you gotta install it. The way these arms install though is literally you lean it on top and you screw 2 bolts in. And that is, for me, a recipe for trouble, because when I first did that and I started adjusting these arms, the base here on the arm just started twisting and warping. And even now, like it rattled, like these arms rattle so much. And it's not just that, like even the controls here, like it being plastic, it feels cheap. Like everything about this chair feels a little bit cheap. So this is what I mean by the value proposition at $1,000 is just a little bit iffy, right? Again, and that's the reason why I prefer the M7 over the M9. Well, with all that out of the way, let me go ahead and break down the chair from the bottom to the top, including the features as we get there, okay? So starting from the casters. The casters, they give you these rollerblade casters, and while they're really smooth and quiet, and they work on carpet and they work on hard floors, I will say on hard floors, look at this. I just tap it and you can see the chair just kind of wobble a little bit, right? And the concerning thing about that is when I'm sitting in the chair, I find that if none of the brakes are on the rollerblade casters, it rolls a little bit when you don't have them locked. Now, that may not sound like a big problem because you're like, well, they have locks on them, right? And it's true, but these locks are really difficult to engage with your feet. Especially if you're barefoot. Like if you have shoes, maybe it doesn't matter, but if you're bare feet or you have socks on, if you try to engage those locks, it can hurt your feet because of the amount of force you need to do. And by the time you click down, you always run past it and you scratch your leg on the plastic or the metal, whatever. And then when you unhinge it with you can't unhinge it with your feet. You have to unhinge it with your hands. But again, that force is so strong that every time I do it, my hand hurts because it just rocks with that. I don't know what it slaps my hand every time. And every time I've adjusted these wheels, my hand is hurt. So yeah, they're okay. The casters, I haven't had this much to say about casters, which is saying something, right? The legs on this they're whatever. I think it was like metal and they're not very wide. So if you like to rest your feet on them, it's not great. One good thing here though is that the legs are not super long. So they're not protruding as far out. And that's a good thing for something like a footrest, because if they're protruding long, then that means your footrest can get in the way, right? Or your footrest has to be further out because your legs prevent it from scooching in. And that's gonna really mess with your ability to kind of rest your feet flat down. So I like that the legs aren't super long. So that's a good on you guys, Mavix. Now getting to the features on this chair. So another good thing that Mavix has going for it is that typically on gaming chairs, and I mentioned this before, they have one control, always have one knob that's underneath where your booty is on the chair that's impossible to adjust and you'll just never use it. You have to get physically out of your chair to adjust it. On this chair, they didn't do that. So big props to you, Mavix. You can adjust everything from the sides of the chair. Okay, so starting from the right side, you have a few controls here. So on the very front, this is your height adjustment, right? Nothing fancy here. And then you've got this knob, and this is what I was talking about just a second ago, where instead of that knob for the back tension to be here in the middle, instead it's right here. So if you unlock your chair completely, this will help you adjust the tension so that it's a little harder or easier to rock back and forth. And then the final knob back here is it functions like a gaming chair if you've used one, or like a really old car seat where you just lift up the lever a little bit and it gives you the ability to kind of lean back or come back up. And if you just let go of it, then it locks it in position. That's a better implementation than what you're gonna see over here on the M7. So that's quite a nice feature. And I'll get back to this because you can couple this with the seat tilt in just a minute. And I'll talk about that in a second. Over here on the left side, you have two features. The first one is going to be, you can adjust your seat pan to come out or in. Now this is another bit of a con here because that seat pan is up here located in the front left. And let me do this first before I say it. Oh, okay, it's not too bad. All right, sometimes I've had trouble adjusting the seat pan when the wheels are unlocked on hard floors because again, it does slide around quite a bit. So if the wheels aren't locked, I found that sometimes it can be hard to adjust this because you do need to put like a good amount of pressure on the floor to do it. But yeah, so it has a seat pan rocking, and the seat pan rocking is good for those of you guys who are taller than me. I don't know what it's like to be 6 feet tall, but I imagine your thighs are longer, and because of that, you want the seat pan to be a little further out to be comfortable. So you can do that. But for someone short like me, what you're able to do is you can extend it all the way out, and then go into ergonomics rebel mode, and you have a little bit more room to be able to sit like this as an ergonomics rebel. I'll talk about more on how that feels on your feet in just a minute, but there's the seat pan option. And then this is what I was talking about a minute ago as well. If you turn this knob forward, it unlocks the seat tilt, not the back tilt. So what you're able to do is you're able to go back pretty far, and I call it the seat tilt because look how the seat kind of moves with me just a little bit, right? And you're able to lean back as far as you want. And this, again, the tension for this is controlled with the knob on the right. If you loosen it, you can go back further, faster, or you can tighten it to make it harder to rock. And if you are rocking, you can lock it. And this is an infinite tilt. So anywhere you lock it, it'll lock in place. So if you're up here and you lock it, it'll just lock right in that position. So it's nice. So that's the rocking. And then if you want, you can have a more dramatic rock back once you've locked the seat in place, then use the right handle to really get that lounge feel. And this feels really good. Again, the downside being that I wish I was taller so that the headrest would actually work for me, but in my case, I'm just too short for it. So this is what it feels like when you're fully leaned back, and it feels really good. Like, this is a very comfortable position to be in. This is one that you can take a nap in. This is what imitates that gaming chair. Like, this is the closest imitation to the gaming chair. Even the Neue chair would end somewhere at about this angle. So to be able to go down this much further, almost at, I would say it's maybe like 160. I don't know how far it is, but it feels really good and it's unique. And it's something unique to the Mavix chair that I haven't seen in some of these hybrid gaming chairs, such as the Neue, even though granted the Neue isn't advertised that way. So that's that for the controls. And yeah, that's it for the bottom controls. Now moving to the seat. So the seat, I talked about the material already. It's using this kind of gel here. And though it does conform a little bit, it's just not conforming to every part of my body that I would like. It doesn't feel, it's comfortable. I don't know how to explain it. It's comfortable, but it's not as comfortable as I'm experiencing on something like mesh or on the seat on the Embody. So yeah, it's still not bad. The benefit of this seat compared to the M7 though is that it is padding all around, which means you will not find a lot of hard parts on the edge of the chair, which means if you are an ergonomics rebel, it's gonna be a really big plus for you because you can curl your feet up like this and your feet will never be on a hard piece of plastic. So that's a really good, really good plus about this chair. And then that's pretty much it. I've already talked about the other parts. I've already talked about how the backrest can be clicked up. You can raise it up. And then, the way you bring it back down is bring it all the way to the top and just let go and it comes down. And then I've already talked about the headrest. So yeah, at $999, this chair is good, but if it was valued at like $500-600, I would be like, yeah, I think it's a solid pickup. $1,000 though, man, like, okay, my 6'1" friend, he came over and he was like, he sat in this chair and he sat in the Neue and I didn't tell him what anything cost. And he was like, if he had to give rankings, I'm gonna spoil this in here, but it would be like the M9, it would be the M7, it would be the Neue, and then it would be like the Embody. That's what he said his rankings were. And it had a lot to do with the shoulders, right? The shoulder pad, him being 6'1", he said these shoulders don't, like these seat pads don't dig into my shoulders like the Aeron does. So that's why he was like, no Aeron. And he was like, yeah, but overall in terms of like the comfort, he still preferred the Neue over this and even over the M7. Hopefully I've given you guys enough information about this chair to be able to make an informed decision. So moving to the M7, this chair has the exact same issues as this one. The headrest is the exact same, right? It's implemented the exact same way. The arms are implemented the same way. So those are the issues. The things that I like about the M7 over the M9, I've already kind of given it away. It's the mesh material. Now this mesh is okay, right? And it's not it's not that rough to the touch. I'm wearing shorts because I purposely tested this with shorts. I purposely tested it with jeans and all that jazz. And with shorts on, I can slip and slide my legs like this and it doesn't hurt. It feels fine. So it's not scratchy, although it's not super rough. And compared to the Neue, the front padding here is definitely less intrusive. And so you're not gonna feel it on your thighs. That's a really big plus because that was the Neue's weakest point, or most weak point, or weakest point. The thing that this chair doesn't have going for it though, which the Neue did, was that on the outside rim here, it's hard plastic, which means I'm short, so I can get away with it. But if you're taller, if you're bigger, there's a chance that when you go into ergonomics rebel mode, we'll push that away for a little bit. When you go into ergonomics rebel mode, there's a possibility that your feet will be on hard plastic at the edges. And that only matters again if you're barefoot, if you're wearing socks like me, if you're wearing shoes, that doesn't really have that much of an impact. The other thing that's good about the M7 is that the mesh. A lot of you guys talked about how on the Neue, you were really worried that that mesh was gonna get loose very quickly. Now, I can't confirm or deny that because I just haven't had the Neue for that long. And the same thing's gonna go with the M7. The M7 is definitely more taut than the Neue chair, but is it going to last? I don't really know. Is it going to sag? Mesh is, I will say this, mesh is always difficult to implement, right? Because the nature of mesh is that the more you press on it, over time, it's gonna get loose, right? And that's one of the tricky parts, which is why warranty matters, and I'm gonna get to that at a later section of the video. But the other reason why I love mesh so much is because it's breathable. It's got these pores in it, obviously, so that it's definitely much more breathable than the M9. But overall, it's a very, very similar chair. The sitting experience is almost identical. The lumbar doesn't function any differently, except on this, it was mesh. On this, it's the pleather-like material. It's actually soft. I'm actually thinking that the seat material and this material are exactly the same. Very soft, very smooth, very supple. And yeah, the only things that are different is the way that you control the chair. And I will say that it's not just the way you control the chair, but some features are a little bit different. The M9, in terms of its controls and implementation, is far superior to the M7. The M7 feels even cheaper when it comes to that stuff on the bottom. So let's do a breakdown, full walkthrough, bottom up, okay? So casters, exact same story. They're using the rollerblade casters. If I just push it a little bit, you can see that it's kind of rocking a little bit here, right? So you're gonna have to really grip tight if you want it tight, or you're gonna have to lock the casters, but locking it and unlocking it is gonna be a little bit painful. So those are the casters. The legs are a little bit different. They're a little bit wider than on the M9, so it's good if you wanna rest your feet on it. You're not gonna have any issues, especially with shoes on. And it's short, just like the M9, which is really good for things like footrests. Now, going to under the chair. Starting with the right side. Okay, I get a little bit confused because there's just so much going on here, but let's start with the middle paddle. So the middle paddle is gonna be your height adjustment. So same thing before, you stand up and you lower it like that. Then you have the back and front paddles, and these paddles go hand in hand. The back paddle, remember on the M9 where you were able to lift it up a little bit and lean back and then just let go and it would lock in place? The M7 has that feature, but implemented in a worse way, because this paddle, unlike that, is not one where you can lift up and let go. It's one you have to lock and unlock, and it's more inconvenient to use. So you have to unlock it here, you can lean, and then once you're in a position you like, then you push it all the way down and you lock it in place. It's not the best. Now, I found a way that you can technically use it that way. So when it's in the locked position, you can just lift it just a tiny bit and kind of adjust the chair, but it doesn't feel like it was meant to do that. Like, I feel like something's gonna break if you try to do that, right? So yeah, it's best if you unlock it, find the position, lock it in place, and then when you're done, unlock it and come back up, okay? So that's the back handle. And then if you use the front paddle is gonna give you that that seat tilt, just like on the M9, except it works differently on the M7. So if I unlock this, and again, it's one of these where the paddle, you have to lift it all the way up, then you can see that I'm unlocked here. Sorry, let me push the M9 out of the way a little. You can see that I rock up, but keep an eye on the seat. Did you see what happened to the seat just there? So here I am, I lean back and watch the seat. It comes way up like that. And this is not the most comfortable seated position or lay down position, because your legs are now up. It doesn't feel like you're laying down, it feels like you're at a V shape. And I don't think anyone's gonna really struggle with this, but I imagine if you're like in this position, it can be a little bit tricky for you to get up and undo the hinge here. Like, it takes a little bit more effort. You get a little bit of a core workout. So maybe if you're someone who wants to work out in your chair, you can definitely do that. Like, I can imagine you being in your chair and you're like, do some sit-ups like that. And it's really solid. Oh, I forgot to mention, both of these chairs, when you're leaned back like this, the construction is solid. I'm not worried I'm gonna fall back at all. If you undo the front tilt, you basically get this motion where you can rock the chair back and forth, but the way it rocks is, again, you can see the legs rocking with you. So this is not a comfortable rock whatsoever, because your legs are moving with you, and you don't want that. At least for me, I just want my back to rock. And in this case, if I try to rock my back, my legs go with it. And then if you unlock the back, at that point is when you're able to go into, oh God, into that pure bliss mode. But again, it's not as comfortable because you're in a V position and you can do your sit-ups here, or you can, if you need to sit up, it can be a little bit tricky to get back up. So that's on the right side. And on the left side, you've got same thing as the M9. You're able to use this little paddle here to adjust your seat forward, your seat pan forward, and adjust the seat pan backwards, okay? So that's that. Oh, I also realized I forgot to go over the arms of both these chairs. Good thing they function exactly the same. So the arms are able to adjust in and out, or forward and back. And this is a big plus here on these chairs, because these can actually extend pretty far up although not easily. That is a good 3 or 4 inches. On some of these other chairs, that front back tilt, that front back is a joke. It's like an inch at most. This has good range where you can go from here all the way to there. So really good range on this. And then you can obviously get it to go up and down using the side, pushing these side buttons here. You can go up and down, and then you can tilt out, in, and further in. And like I said, the arms feel really flimsy on this because of the way that you have to screw it on just by the 2 screws below. Not the greatest implementation. I already talked about the bottom mesh. It feels much more taut than the Noya chair. It feels pretty good. It's pretty soft to the touch and doesn't hurt your skin. I've already talked about that. The seat can adjust in the same way, just like the M9, right? So it can go up, 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 up. And then if you want to bring it down, you lift it all the way up and it comes all the way down. And the headrest is just as tricky as the M9 series. The headrest is just not great. Now, overall, I think the M7 is a little bit better of a buy because, again, I personally like mesh. This is going to be up to you to decide what you want to do. I like the mesh a lot better, but again, the value prop is weird. This is $777. And again, my 6'1" friend who sat in both of these chairs, he was like, I definitely prefer the M7. But he said when he sat in the Noya, he was like, I actually prefer the Noya over both of these chairs. And the Noya is $600. Now, oh, and then he sat in the Embody and he was like, yeah, the Embody is my #1 choice. And this guy's 6'1", right? So for those of you guys who are worried that the Embody might be uncomfortable because you're tall, he did note that the Embody would be perfect if it had a headrest. Now, I know the Embody is a little bit more expensive. It's 1.5 times the cost. It's gonna be about $1,500 to $1,600 compared to the $1,000 and $800 in a nutshell, or basically $1,000 and $800. But what you'd be paying for, the difference that I think why it would be worth paying that little extra cost for the Embody is because of the warranty and the return policy, okay? So I'm gonna break this down a little bit, and I get a little bit confused. I might have to make corrections in post because yeah, their policy is a little bit crazy, okay? So the #1 thing you need to know is that the return policy is that they call it like I think it's like a 30-day trial period, but if you wanna return these chairs, it's gonna cost you like $122 to return. So you can return the chair, get a full refund minus the shipping fee, which is $122. That is a good chunk of money. That's 1/7 of your chair. So the return policy isn't great. Now let's talk about the warranty. So I'm sorry, I have to bring up the Noya. I'm sorry to do this retroactively, but the Noya chair had this really weird warranty policy where they don't cover the mesh. They cover every other part basically, except they don't cover the mesh, which is a little bit weird and a little bit problematic. These chairs, the Mavix chairs, will cover your mesh and they call it a 12-year warranty, but the way they break it out is very unusual. So they say, okay, for moving non-metal parts, they'll cover that for 5 years. But for first 2 years, they'll cover shipping. And then for the next 3 years, you have to cover shipping. So that's 5 years. And then they give you an additional 7-year warranty on non-moving metal components, which I'm kind of like, what's non-moving metal? Like here? Like this? No, this frame is, I don't know, I think it's plastic. The legs? Like, I don't know, it's non-moving metal. So yeah, their warranty is a little bit shady. Now compare that with the Embody. Okay, the Herman Miller Embody is going to get you full warranty on everything for 12 years. Like, and I've read reports of people being like, look, my Embody got discolored, right? Because I wear jeans and I have I have like a yellow or I have an orange Embody, like orange cloth Embody, and the orange like rubbed off. And so they call it Herman Miller and Herman Miller was like, cool, we'll replace it for you. And it was no questions asked and it was that easy, right? These guys, it's like, hey, if it gets discolored, you can't do anything about it, right? You're not gonna get covered under that. Read the warranty policy. I'm not gonna cover all the details. There's a lot in there, but yeah, read it and you're gonna realize like, okay, so yeah, the Embody costs $500-600 more, but their warranty is significantly better. You don't have to worry about any return shipping costs or anything like that with Herman Miller. And yeah, is that gonna be worth the extra premium? In my opinion, it is, but I don't know. I'm not you guys. I'm just giving you guys information. Hopefully you guys can make an informed decision. So yeah, that's basically gonna do it for my review of the M7 and the M9. I think again, if you guys are convinced that you guys want this chair, it's got good lumbar support, it's for taller folks, it's got the hybrid of the lean back position. That's one of the things the Embody does not have. It's got that ability to lean back. I think the M7 does it better. I think the M9's value proposition is just a little bit it doesn't make sense for me. And like I said before, guys, this footrest is the truth. If you're gonna pick up anything, you gotta get the footrest. All right, guys, I hope I answered all your questions. I feel like I'm missing something. Make sure you guys ask questions in the comments below. If you guys like this video, if you guys like my reviews, if you guys appreciate my attempt to be like as honest as possible, please subscribe, because that really helps. Because basically by telling you guys this, I feel like I'm not gonna make any money from, you know, selling these chairs or anything like that. So your guys' subscriptions really help, because it allows companies to send me chairs for free as opposed to me having to go out and buy them. And again, sorry guys, I'm ranting at this point, but yeah, it's a weird place to be in. I wanna be as honest as possible. I'm not just trying to make money. I wanna help you guys make an informed decision, and you guys liking, subscribing, and commenting helps this channel so much. You guys have no idea, you guys won't believe how much that helps, but it really does. Like, for example, a lot of you guys have asked about the autonomous chairs, and I can't get those chairs because they don't work with people under 30,000 subs. So yeah, every subscription helps, everything helps. Sorry, I'm going too long. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Stay safe, everybody. And as always, until next time, stay honest.